My guest today is Fernando Guillot. Fernando is Director of Venture Studio at Telefonica. Telefonica, for just a few that they do not know, is one of the world's largest telco, and actually is one of the company that actually has been one of the early movers in the open innovation arena. Again, Telefonica, with its flagship program called Wayra, has been one of the company that in a certain way created the open innovation arena. So I'm really pleased to have with me today, Fernando.
Hi, nice to be here, Alberto.
Fernando, so first of all, congratulations are in order. As you know, Telefonica has been recognized this year again among the corporate startup stars. And again, this is the award that together with ICC, we give to the corporates that are really making a dent in the open innovation arena in a really pragmatical way. And I believe that Telefonica deserves it. So congratulations.
Thank you. Thanks.
So Fernando, I would like to start to provide our audience with a brief overview in terms of what Telefonica does, talking about open innovation. You know, open innovation is multiple things ranging from partnership, acceleration, investments, venture building, acquisitions. Again, there is a lot of stuff, and one of the most interesting facts that Telefonica does most of these activities, and also with multiple vehicles. So probably might be good to provide our audience with a short overview in terms of how Telefonica approach open innovation in the world of startups.
Okay, so yeah, a couple of years ago now, so Telefonica has been working on open innovation for a long time now. Longer than 10 years now. So we've been in this space for 10 years now. But 2 years ago, we decided to cut innovation in two. So we had what we call core innovation is on one side and open innovation is on the other. Today, we're going to talk a little bit about open innovation, especially around the Wayra Builder or our Venture Builder initiative. But in this open innovation space, so you talked about it, we have quite a lot of different vehicles. So we have vehicles that go around investing in very seed companies, like we have WayraX, which is also under my team. And there we invest in B2C companies, very, very seed investments, B2C. Very disruptive, or at least we try and find the disruptive companies, and it can be anywhere in the world. So we don't have a physical hub where we host them. It's a digital hub, and we need to go into the digital space. So we don't invest in hardware-oriented companies or anything like that. We also have Venture Builder or Wayra Builder, as we call it. I'll go into a lot of detail later on, so I won't go in there. And then we have what we call our Wayra Hubs, and that's where we invest in different countries. So we have a hub in Argentina, we have a hub in Germany, in the UK. We have two actually in Spain. So we have these different hubs, and these different hubs are doing scouting on startups. It's not such seed startups. It's a little bit further down the road, and we try and invest in this space. And then we have our ventures, our Telefonica Ventures, which we invest obviously in bigger companies. We also do follow-ons on companies that we've invested earlier on. And obviously, in this venture space, we also invest in certain funds, big funds. We've actually announced a couple of months ago. We announced that we were joining forces with K-funds, and we were putting in quite a lot of investment into this fund. And so we're trying to cover every single space, right? So from building our own stuff to investing in B2C and B2B and things that we call fit first. So everything that can have a fit with Telefonica. And that's one of the important theses when we go into ventures and also in the wider hubs. And then, but we do many other things. So for example, we have the Open Future, which is actually spaces that we work with startups. We don't invest directly on these startups. We give them space, and we can join forces between startups, and then maybe in the near future we can invest. We have a lot of partnerships, so we have very close partnerships with big multinational companies like Microsoft, Google, and Amazon, but we invest also in these partnerships with other smaller players that can help us build our ecosystem. That's like the picture of what we do in open innovation.
Before moving into the venture builder part, that is the part where we focus our conversation, I'd like to get a line from you regarding the change that Wayra has done in the past few years. Because remember, Wayra has been launched as has been one of the first corporate accelerators in the world and in the industry, and down the way has evolved. Again, based on our analysis, the corporate accelerators are in a certain way showing poor performance, not because there were not good initiatives, but substantially because we're not able to deliver to the corporate that were running them value in terms of collaboration. Probably because there was a certain mismatch between the stage of the company they worked with and the ability to have an impact on this company. So again, while I personally believe that initiatives like Wayra for Spain and Latin America, Orange Fab for France and Africa, Telecom Italia for Italy has really done a lot of positive outcomes for the ecosystems, probably has not produced so many performance for the corporate that were behind them. And that's probably one of the reasons why it has been also restructured. And so which are the direction, the reason that moved Wayra into this restructuring?
Well, we work as a startup. So, and I love to say this. When I'm building startups, I'm always saying that we always have to find people that can pivot quickly, and we do the same internally. So yeah, we've gone through many phases, and we've learned a lot of stuff, and we've changed, and we've evolved, and we've tried to nurture the things that have worked, and we've tried to add the things that we didn't have, or that there were spaces that no one even saw us. No? So, for example, I was talking before about this new fund that we're building with K-funds, and it's a space no one expected us. So these big investments in companies that are focused on driving big success and making multi-billion or multi-million dollar companies was a space that we never explored. So we were looking for smaller investments. Obviously, we did invest in startups that we thought that would get there, but when a big round came along, we would never be able to follow on. So that's one of the big changes that has occurred, that we've seen spaces where we were not relevant, and we're trying to get there. And there's been other changes along the way. So before we invested in every single type of startup. Suddenly we realized that we should fix our thesis into something that could benefit the company. And even though we have a space to grow somewhere else. So for example, the hubs, they have like this 30% where they can go crazy and do whatever they want. They could invest in hardware. They can invest in B2C. They can do all sorts of stuff. But they have 70% where the thesis is it has to have today or in the near future an alignment or a fit with what Telefonica is or where we want to go. So Telefonica is an incredible place, and there's lots of people working in every direction, no? And you see people coming to us and asking us for these next trends, no? Where they should put the money, and even strategy people come and see us for this. And so we do all sorts of things and help the company focus sometimes on where we think that they should go. And sometimes they say, well, I don't know, I want to go to the security space. No, when we partner with Prosegur, well, let's see what we can do in the open innovation space to fit, to have a fit with this, even though we still haven't built anything out of this. And that's something that we're working on. And to be honest, it's going well. It's working, but we never stop. So I was telling you before. So we try and pivot, and we test, and we try out all the things, and we'll change again once and again. No, we have to work like a startup. We're not that many. We feel a lot like a family, and yeah, we try and reinvent ourselves, well, without inventing the wheel every time, but trying to reinvent ourselves quite a lot. Yeah.
No, I think that is crucial, and actually, this is one of the characteristics of the company that are able to stay on the edge, the ability to evolve. Because again, if you believe that something, because that's been working for a couple of years, is the model that you have to continue to develop in a world that is changing every 6 months, I think something is definitely wrong. And so I really appreciate the evolution that Wayra has done, being one of the early movers, evolving, driving, designing and structuring what has been codified as the accelerator model, and now at a certain point abandoning and leaving and restructuring in different ways. The things that are definitely more surprised that there are a lot of people that are replicating your old model rather than doing what you guys are doing, and that is the part that really struck me.
Because that's interesting. That's interesting you say that. I worked for 17 years for Microsoft, and if you were in a department long enough, you would see it evolve into what you knew 7 years ago, right? So that happens. I mean, you change the people that are there, and sometimes ideas that you've already gone through, people will go there again, right? But I don't know. I've seen lots of people that have been here, that the 10 years of Wayra, and that have been here and have that experience and allow us to always go forward, right? But, yeah.
Perfect. So let's focus the conversation on the Venture Builder part. Before of that, you are the head of Venture Studio, that is a larger unit that doesn't include only Wayra Builder, that is the Venture Builder, that what we will focus our conversation, but also some other interesting things. Can you just provide us the perimeter of the activities that are below your Venture Studio?
Okay, so Venture Studio has two of the vehicles I already talked. So the Wayra Builder and the WayraX initiatives, both. So the vehicles closer to the seed part are under my umbrella. But then I have two additional things which help this engage all the small bits and pieces. I always try and say that my department is like a puzzle, because it seems to have 4 very different things, but then when they go together, they go really well. So the other two things are, we have a small group of prototyping team. So they're a team very technical, but also there's also people thinking of on the business side. And that team allows us to test things that we find internally, test them, put them in front of real customers, turn them around, try and find additional business models to this. And that works really well. So it's not I have an idea. Let's put it out there. No, let's try it first. Let's see what this is, where we can go. Let's try a couple of things, and then what we feel comfortable with, we'll build a startup. And then the last part is we have a big partnership with all the academic industry. It doesn't matter if it's a university, if it's a business university, whatever. We have a big partnership, and we use these universities. So we tend to be a bridge between this academic world and Telefonica, but we're always trying to find technology that we can put in the hands of these people that have incredible minds and that they're exploding now, and put certain technology in their hands and maybe get things that we had never thought of, and do hackathons and do all sorts of stuff. And then with that, we not only find many people that can become the management teams of the startups that we're building, but also people that can end up investing, that can end up being part of these startups. So yeah, that's what Venture Studio is, and yeah. Well,
that's your kingdom. How many people overall?
So now, well, it's because we grew a little, then we went down a little, but we're 13 people, 14.
14, okay. And for the Venture Builder part, that is Wayra Builder?
Okay, but Wayra Builder now is 3 people. 3 people.
Okay, cool. So let's focus on Wayra Builder. The reason why we're focusing on Wayra Builder, because beyond being recognized Telefonica as one of the corporate startup stars, you also got Telefonica got also the award for special award for venture building activities, and so double congratulations at this point, because I think in this very, very, again, today venture builder are on the rise. All corporates are about to launch a venture builder. Actually, there is also a certain level of confusion in terms of what is a venture builder. We try at Mind the Bridge, we try to put a framework, at least to try
I guess that framework, that I saw that framework, and I'm sure it doesn't fit us all either, because everyone gets a piece of what they want.
No, actually, is a quite overall madness, because again, we are seeing models that are equally called venture builder, but with totally different goals and totally different outcomes and totally different mechanism of operation. So just to providing overall framework is, we make first big distinction is, first of all, what is your main goal? You are planning to launch a new business. This is, for example, the goal of Launchpad, BP, is the goal of SAP Venture Studio. Or are you planning to exploiting existing internal assets that for different reasons are no longer strategic for the company, but they have a value? Again, Airbus Scale, that has been announced a few months ago, is exactly designed to do that. And I believe that also Wayra Builder is along these lines. And then the other main criteria is, what is the outcome of the venture builder? You are generating a new business to be handed over to the business unit, or you're planning to create a new entity, a spin-off to be put on the market. And then other details that, and sometimes details make the difference, are you're planning to maintain the ownership, the majority of the control, the majority of the stakes of the new entity, or you are planning to open it to external investors, also to get diluted and maintain a minority stake. And which is the origination of your ideas? Is internal, is coming from your employees, is internal, strategically driven, or is something that is external, maybe you get from external entrepreneurs, or you acquire startups. Again, there are different models on the market. And just to provide a bit of guidance, we try to put together this framework that, as you said, probably is not, there is not one size fits all, but at least gave us some argument to try to understand what is specifically the Telefonica approach to venture builder through the Wayra Builder. So, Fernando, help us to understand what you guys are doing.
Okay, so we started off. So before I start off what we are, so Telefonica is an incredible company. You find people innovating in every single department of Telefonica. It's very impressive, very impressive. But the same as I'm saying this at the same time, we are a very, very complex company, right? And so when a department starts doing innovation and thinks, oh, this has a great potential, we should put it out there. Sometimes we find that that you never get anywhere, because Telefonica is such a big company. It needs when it's starting a new business model, you need out of the box for that model to bring hundreds of thousands or millions of dollars to the table, right? And startups don't do that. They start little and they can grow. So what we saw was that there was a lot of innovation going on around the house. There was patents, so people were actually patenting their things. There were ideas, technology, even built products, and we've seen that in models like in Core Innovation. They've even built a product, but then they don't know. They're thinking of product, but not how to sell it. So we thought that it was a good idea if we started off looking internally. And as I was saying before, this is something that we started with this idea. Let's look internally. Let's evangelize all around the house, and let's see what things we have that are left inside a drawer, whatever the reason, right? And let's start exploring what we can find there. If it's something interesting, if there's a patent, if there's something that we can actually do with it, if there's competitors doing the same thing somewhere around the world. So there's a lot of stuff that we could do with internal products, but we wanted to remove the complexity of a Telefonica, right? So first of all, we use our own technology. So that was like the first step on your framework. Then what do we want to do? We want to build startups. We want to do new companies out of this technology. So what we find the technology, we use this prototyping team to make sure that it's something that has a value in the market. We test it out. We look and we invest quite a lot of time looking to see if there's competitors. We build a business plan, what we would need for this company to go for 2 years' time without having to lift a new investment round, and then we go ahead and build it. So we do want to build new companies. And then you were saying this framework has the who stays with this control. And this is something that I'm also happy because we pivoted quickly. So in the beginning, we thought, I mean, we're putting the patents, sorry. We are investing, and we're also looking for external investors, but we should keep the majority, maybe not the majority, maybe not an 80%, but maybe a 50%. And what we found out was that if a big corporation has that much amount of stake inside a company, when you try and lift new investment rounds, the big VCs will not join in because you already have too much power and they won't be able to change much. So now we try and keep maximum of a 20% in what we do. Okay. So we're not planning on having the majority of the stake in these companies. We're having maximum 20%, and we want these companies to fly on their own. So the first thing I tell these companies when they start, the first time that we sit with the CEO and I haven't talked about that process, but that is an interesting process, finding the right team, is always even though the technology comes from Telefonica can never be your first client. It can never be. And I don't want it to be the first, the second, the third, or even the fifth client. I want you to grow on your own. I'm going to help you, and I'm going to be there, and I'm going to help you with building new investments or investment rounds if you need. I'm going to open up conversations with partners, with other possible clients. but I want you to fly on your own. I want you to be a startup in real life. So I don't want you to be under Telefonica's wing. And obviously we're here, and that's like the last part of our trip with the startups, is obviously helping them sell not only to Telefonica, which obviously is something that every startup wants, but also selling through Telefonica. So when they have the maturity enough to sell through Telefonica, so Telefonica allows them to get into their funnel and sell to their customers, then we're in the right track. When that happens, the startups normally grow really fast, and that's one of our advantages, because we're inside. But we want the startups to live on their own. So we try and build with our own technology, but we want to build startups where we don't actually control. But obviously, there can come a time where we build a startup because we know the technology is good, but we cannot build it internally, but we want to build a startup. Maybe in 5 years' time, 6 years' time, who knows? Telefonica can rebuy it. Once they're growing fast, they have a big, solid product. Maybe we can buy it and integrate it into a business unit. But that's not what we expect, no? So we're always thinking of, let's build a startup, and maybe in 5 years' time we can lift around big enough for us to exit, or maybe move the startup up our ladder and give it to ventures and let them invest quite a lot more money in finding a little bit more of this equity or the stake that we have in the company. So that's
let me ask you a couple of questions that pop up to my mind while I'm listening to you. Number one is, you're saying, okay, our goal is not to buy back the company. Might happen, but it's not to buy back the company.
It may happen, but it's not our principal goal.
So what are the KPIs, the indicator you measure your activities? So how do you measure your activity? How you say, Fernando, we did a good job with WayraX Builder, or you did not? I know that you just started, so it's difficult. But
it's difficult to measure. But there's 2 or 3 things that we measure. So the first thing is, we want the companies, when we build them, in maximum of 6 months, have a MVP, a product they can sell, and we give them a year to start selling. So if a startup, we build a startup, so obviously the first KPI is how many startups you build, but that's not terribly important. So if you ask my big boss, so Chema Alonso, who many of you probably know, he would hold me on my neck and say, I want 10 startups a year. Okay. And I have to go back and say, look, we're a venture builder. We need to find the right technology in the right moment to put it out there. And there's not 10 a year, and that would be crazy. Let's try and build a couple, 2, 3 maximum, right? So the first KPI is the number of startups you build.
But technically speaking, the venture builder, as far as we see, they are mostly focused on quality rather than quantity, because they require a lot of support, and you cannot, if not, you go back to the old accelerator model.
Exactly.
You get a portfolio.
Exactly.
You need to focus on your...
That has been a pain. That has been a real challenge, getting our senior managers to understand, or our senior directors to understand that we prefer to do less, but with more quality. And it's obviously it's in our heads now, and there's no problem. But when we started, it was like, okay, I want 10 startups. Okay. Well, I would tell the team, so manager 10, my director would say 7, and I would tell the team 4. Then we'll do 3. So, but that's good enough. So the first KPI is number of startups. The second one is that the startups are making money. So no, the second one would be that they have a product, a viable product that they can sell in maximum 6 months. We try and get there in 3, but sometimes we need a little longer. Depends what has happened along the way, right? And So that would be the second, to have an MVP, and the third one is that they're selling. So they're actually making money, even though they obviously we're not trying to get them in the first year to sustain themselves. So we know that in 2 years' time they'll have to open up a round and try and look for more funding. But at least that they're showing the correct progress, and that they're and that is what we are measuring. Obviously, we are very on top of the startups. We help them. We go to every single of the meetings that we have with them, and we're always on top of helping them pivot. So we've had some of the startups that started off as a B2C company, and we've pivoted them around to a B2B company because that was the model that we thought was going to be better. And now we're starting to see slowly what they can achieve. But we're always trying to help. I always say, we're not the first. We can't be your first customer, but we have a lot of experience, and we have the Wayra ecosystem, and we've seen lots of startups and how the things they have to do to survive, and we help them in that way.
Second question is, what's the process for selecting the project to be put in the builder, and then the process to make them grow? Because if I can remember from some of our prior discussion, you at a certain point you appoint an external CEO, you nurture your wide Wayra ecosystem. So tell us which is the process. How does it work?
How do we? Well, I already explained that we're evangelizing what we do all around the house, so that people will show us what they have in their drawers. That's not that easy. Once we find things that are interesting, we I don't know, we've looked into like 70, 80 different products, and we've only built 4. We're building the 5th. So it's not that we build so many startups, but we do get to see quite a lot of things. Once we find the one that we think can make a difference, obviously we start analyzing it deeper. We go to this process of finding who their competitors are. What would they need to build this from scratch? If there's technology only, or if there's a patent, or if there's actually already a product underneath. So we see the needs. With that, after testing a little and doing a little bit of prototyping and things like that, after that, we take this to a committee where we explain our business model, where we want to go, how we want to do it. We still don't have a CEO, we still don't have investment, but we say, we think that this startup with this technology, which there's no one else doing anything like this, if we do it right, in 6 months we can have a product, in 8 months it can be selling, and in 3 years it can be sustainable, for example, right? So that an Excel can hold everything. But we go to this investment committee and we explain what we would do with this. And they come back and say, and what we have to tell them is, okay, we think that with the proper team, so we think that for this, because of the maturity of the product, we need 3, 4 people, 5 people, depending on what we need. We normally start with 3 normally, but we need a CEO, a CTO, maybe 2 to 3 people helping develop. And with that, we know that if we have 250, 300K, we can get this startup to live for 2 years with what we give them and get enough traction to lift a new investment round. And then they say yes or no. So this committee, which is formed out of not only our managers, so it's not only Tim Alonso there, but we have people from legal, we have people from finance, we have a big range of different profiles, which allows us to take the the best decisions. You don't have a window to the future, so sometimes you don't do it right, but it gives us a big scope, because there's lots of different views where we should go and how we should do it. If they say yes, then we have two big challenges. The first challenge is to find the team. And this is something that we've learned a lot over this couple of years. Obviously, it's not easy. The first thing we always try this, we have never succeeded, is normally the technology comes from Telefonica, and there's always someone who has fathered this technology or mothered this technology. And we always ask them, would you be willing to leave Telefonica and go and start this startup as part of the management team? You don't have to be the CEO. Maybe you have the skills, but sometimes they don't. It's just the CTO or someone else. We've never had no one. So there's a lot of people.
Nobody volunteered about that.
No. They never volunteer. So you find that they love their product. They sell it super well. But then when it comes to, you have to leave the company because you can't work for Telefonica. You're going to work for a company invested by Telefonica, but it's not Telefonica. They never want to leave. It's interesting. So that part is not that easy. But obviously we have a nice track record of startups where we've invested in. We know these people that have made lots of startups. We even did this exercise. It started off in my team, in the Wayra Builder team, where we looked up all the investments over the years where Wayra had invested and tried to figure out what the good profiles were that allowed the startups to have a better future. No, you never know if they're gonna triumph or not, right? But you could get a taste, and there we got lots of names and people that well, I know this guy and he was great. He did this and he made money out of it, and now he's not doing anything. And we use that to track down people that can become the next CEO of our startups. But we find them in all sorts of places. In university, we find them in business schools. We find them more or less everywhere. But then we have to find the money. So and this is an important thing as well. We try and find. Probably we'll try and do it in parallel, finding money and the team. But if we find the team quicker, it's easier to find the money. And it's important that you know that we never invest alone. So for us, finding additional investors validates our model. So if we're able to find a business angel or other startups that we've already invested in that want to invest their money in the startups that we're building, that validates that what we're doing makes sense, and then we build it. We never go alone. So if in this committee, I go and they say, yes, you can go, but you can only invest. Imagine I say, I need 300K. They say, okay, great, but you can only invest 100. Or I normally would say that. I think with my technology and 100K, with that, I can have 30% of the equity of the company, and I need to find the rest, leaving 30% for the management team, for example, right? And that's a very important part of our job, is finding these business angels or others that want to join us in this venture.
But the money that Telefonica put into the new cause is coming from where? The Wayra Build, Open Innovation team.
Yeah, so Open Innovation has amount of money for the Wayra Hubs, for WayraX, and for Wayra Builder, and ventures. Well, the money from ventures is coming and going from the investments and the exits and all that. Okay. But yeah, so we reserve an amount at the beginning of the year, but then we can move this money around if other vehicles are investing heavily or they need more, or we're investing heavily and we need more. Yeah.
So it's essentially to wrap it up the process. You look at all the patents, IP, technology, product that are inside the Telefonica belly. You filter many of them, you identify the most promising one, you run a business case, you try to understand market opportunity, technology issues, and whatever. Then you bring in front of a committee that is composed by multiple stakeholders your proposals of new course with a go-to-market plan that is technically is MVP X months, for sale X months, sustainability X months. This is the business need that you need, the amount of team, sizing of the team and capital that is required, and then you get a yes or no, and that you get a yes, you start a parallel process of securing the funding, because SAU co-invest, putting IP, technology, product, and a part of the money. The rest of the money should come from outside, and then you start leveraging mostly the Wayra network, the broader Wayra network, to finding the team with the CEO, because as you said, typically the originators of these technology products typically don't like to leave Telefonica to take advantage of these opportunities. Probably because Telefonica is a place that's so nice to work with. It's difficult to build. Because they are good inventors, but they're not entrepreneurs.
Exactly. So that's a very important point. So there's people that what they like is invent something new, wrap it up, and they love to look and see if someone has made something good out of that. But they want to invent new stuff. They want to do other stuff. So yeah, absolutely.
Yes, being an entrepreneur is not something that you can impose by law. It's something that people, they are entrepreneurs or not. They are good investors or not necessarily good entrepreneurs. So can you provide a couple of examples of some of these new codes that are coming out of your builder?
Okay, so there's a couple that I'm fairly sure that they will go places. So one of them was a technology, very interesting technology. It's called Shadow. The technology is a watermark in documents, but the nice thing about this watermark is it has two characteristics. The first, it's invisible, and the second one, you don't lose it even when once printed. So imagine you share something with me which is confidential, and I print it out on my printer. I give it to the newspaper, and once you've seen it in the newspaper, you take a picture and you say it was Fernando who leaked this information, right? That one's very, very interesting. We thought that we could sell. This is the one that we pivoted, because we thought, well, this, if you put a very nice price, people will do it, and the consumer will just go ahead and buy it. And we found out that that this was actually something that probably a lot of companies wanted, but they wanted it in an automatic way. So, for example, we're trying to figure out if we can. Well, we built an API, and now you can actually imagine that you're in a printer, and you put your card in the printer, and you say print this. Before printing, it goes out, puts the watermark, and then it prints it out. And that's what the companies want. So they want something automatic, where everything is signed by the person printing it, or by the person sending the email, or whatever, and having that over. So that was a technology that was in the house. It was patented, but there was no product around it. We weren't selling it. We weren't doing anything with it. When we found it, it's like, this seems very interesting, and there's no one else out there doing it, right? So this is one of them. The other one that is the first one we did, and that's the one that's evolved the most, is a product that allows conversations in any text-driven platform. It doesn't matter if it's WhatsApp, if it's SMS, if it's Telegram, whatever. What it does is it gives the conversation legal value. And it also has this type of bot which allows you to interact automatically and not leave WhatsApp or Telegram or whatever, not leave it, and be able to sell stuff, sign contracts, etc. inside these applications. And that one's working very well. It's already that's the oldest one we have, so it's going to be it'll turn 2 next month. So that's the first startup we ever built, and it's going very well.
So very good. I think there's a lot of interesting stuff coming out of this builder. Obviously, it will be interesting to follow up. Couple of months, quarter, how you guys are doing. What if there's been some further changes into the model? I'm expecting for sure.
The model is going to change, and we're already doing it. So we're still looking for internal technology. I was telling you a bit about this before. It's sometimes we get internal technology and we put it out there in a university to see what other things they can do with it. And maybe the core is a technology, but maybe it's a very small space of what the startup ends doing. So yeah, we're pivoting. We're thinking that we can do more stuff. But obviously having in mind that Telefonica has a lot of technology that we want to put out there, and it's also interesting because we do find technology that we think it's not good enough for a startup, but maybe as we have a big portfolio of startups we're already investing in, we find things that we say, look, this piece of code may be interesting for this startup that we're already invested in, and maybe we can give it to them in exchange of some equity or some warrants or what. And we're actually doing that as well. So yeah.
So you are leveraging also your large portfolio, because again, one thing that needs to be said is Wayra, correct me if I'm wrong, you have a portfolio of 800 plus startups.
We've invested in 800 plus. We don't have a portfolio now of 800 plus, but
yes, invested in 800 plus. So there is a lot of large network that you can definitely deep dive into and leverage. And so you just to see if I got it right. So one of the potential evolution of Wayra Builder is also to look outside of Telefonica for some ideas to be exploited.
Yeah. I mean, when I built this, when we started this, one of the things that we always said was we need to have big wide ears open and listening everywhere. And I mean, we have started off as looking into internally for ideas, and we're going to do that for as long as we find ideas. But I mean, we cannot just do what I mean, if there's something interesting out there, or there's someone that comes and says, I have this idea and it links really well with Telefonica because of this and this, and the company has not been built yet, we're ready to explore that as well. We haven't started, but
currently the focus is internal, exploiting all the internal assets that you have, and then maybe since you are putting together, as far as I know, a framework that works. Once it works, maybe you're going to be applied to something outside.
Exactly.
Fernando, thank you so much for sharing insights. Definitely interested to deep dive and follow up in the next months. By now, good work, and continue to keep up with the good work that you have been doing. That, as you see, has been properly recognized. Congratulations.
Thank you, Alberto. It was really nice to share this hour with you. So hopefully we'll meet again soon.
We definitely will.
In Barcelona. Okay.
Bye.
Okay. Bye. Thank you so much. Bye.